All right, so let's talk a little bit about dynamic memory allocation in C. So this is a portion of code. I have defined here a new data type called card, and my card, it has three fields. One is a character array called face. That's for the face of the card, like ace, king, queen. And the second is a character array called suit. That's spades, clubs, diamonds, etc. And an integer point value. I also have included an extra library here, stdlib. This is a standard library which is used for the functions for dynamic memory allocation, which are malloc and calloc. And then I have stdio.h, of course, for printf, and I define this size so that my arrays in my new data type have a defined size. Okay, so here I have the whole semester I've been saying do not declare any pointers, do not declare any pointers. However, when you're using dynamic memory allocation, you must declare pointers, because basically what you're doing is, instead of declaring an array or declaring and assigning the memory right away, you are only assigning the memory later on in the program when you need it. Now, of course, here I have declared a card pointer, and I'm using malloc to allocate memory for a card, and I'm doing it right away. So that's just because this is an example. But the truth is that the way you would use malloc and calloc would be to allocate that memory later on in the program. So, but here's an example of two ways to do it. The first way is malloc. Malloc will allocate memory for a single instance of whatever data type you need. So in this case, it could be a card, but you could use malloc to allocate memory for an integer or a character. So when I declare a card pointer right here, why am I not getting any memory for it? Well, because when you declare a pointer, you're declaring a pointer that's ready to point to something at some time whenever you point it there. But just the declaration of a pointer, it does not point anywhere. So let's go to the next slide and draw a little picture here of what's going on. So when I declare a pointer, so when I declare the data type is card, and the name of it I think was card PTR. So what I get here is a pointer to a card. And if this is my memory map over here, basically what I get is a card PTR that doesn't point anywhere. It would point somewhere. There are two ways in which to have it point. The first way to have it point is to declare a card. So I could declare a card, and say card, my card, and then say card PTR. So when I declare that, what I actually get in memory is an area in memory for my card. Okay, so then if I say then I could say card PTR equals address of my card. And when I do that, then it would take this pointer that was pointing nowhere, and it would point it to memory right here at the location where my card is located. And that's fine, and you can certainly do it that way. But the other way to do it would be to use malloc. So to use malloc, you would have your card, and we're going to do malloc and calloc on here. So I'm going to have two card pointers, card PTR, and I'm not sure, I don't remember what the name of that other one was. It was called card array PTR. All right, so we have card array PTR. So hopefully that's correct. All right, so here's my memory map. And in declaring pointers like this, I basically have not allocated any memory to anything. All I've done is declared pointers that are ready to point in memory if I have cards in memory for them to point to. So then as my program starts, I also have an integer num. Okay, then as I start to run my program later on, I need to add a card in there. So now instead of when I declared, if you look back here, when I declared my card, I got memory allocated. Okay, but the other way to do it is to allocate it dynamic. What dynamic means is that it gets allocated during execution, not at the beginning of the program or the beginning of a function. It gets allocated sometime when it is needed. So it's not allocated unless you're going to need it. So the first function that I would use would be Malloc. So what Malloc does is Malloc is a function. So it's just a function call, just like we've been doing. And the first argument, the argument that it takes is, if you go back here and take a look, it takes an argument with a keyword size of, and then you have to tell it how large that data type is. So Malloc is going to take one argument with a keyword size of, and then you're going to pass this size of card. So what does that mean? Well, a card is made up of 2 character arrays of size 20 and an integer. So that's a different size of memory than, say, just a single integer. So it needs to know how much memory I'm going to allocate to it. And then it's kind of a weird setup, but if you take a look at it, then you have to put this card pointer in front of it, in front of the function called a malloc, and then it's in the form of an assignment statement, and it gets assigned to whichever pointer you're going to assign it to. So you have to put this here. This is a card pointer. That's a star. And then the assignment statement. So I'm going to take when I allocate this memory, which is a pointer to a card, and it's the size of a card, I'm going to give it to card PTR over here. So what happens then? I get a piece of memory, which is, like, say this would be the piece of memory right here, and this is the size of a card, so it's going to have a character array in here, and it's going to have another character array in here, and this is just a visualization of it, and it's going to have an integer in here. This is just for visualization purposes. And so that's a card, and then when I allocate that memory gets allocated to store a card in it, and then card PTR would then point there. And that's how you use Malloc. So let's now talk about how to use calloc with a different color. Let's just use white. All right, calloc is very similar. The function is called calloc, C-A-L-L-O-C, allocate memory. But calloc takes 2 arguments. So let's go back and take a look at the code. It takes size of a card as the second argument, but the first argument is the number of items you want. So it's for an array. These cards are going to be consecutive in memory, and it's going to be an array. So what happens here is I have to get the number, I have to get the number from the user. And then I say I want to have that many. And this could be a literal. You could say I want to have 6 cards, I want to have 52 cards, or you can get a number and say that's how many you need. And then the second argument is going to be size of card. So that's what calloc is going to do. It's going to allocate so many. It could be 52, just for example, or it could be 10, it could be 12. And it's an array, consecutive cards in memory. And then, of course, you have to put this card pointer thing in front here. And then you're going to assign it to a card pointer that was declared in your function, in your program at some point. The card pointer must have been declared or gets declared at some point. So that's my card array PTR. So now my card array PTR will now point in memory to a location, say right here, and then I will have an array of cards. So this would have this would be at index 0, index 1, index 2, index 3 of my uh, of my of cards, a whole bunch of cards. However many, say 52, I could have 52 cards right here. All right, so now once we've put this card pointer here at this location, then this card AR pointer becomes this is the name of the array. So at this location, this would be, oh, let's go back. Oops, I gotta get my pen. All right, let's pick white here. Okay, at this location, this would be card AR PTR at index 0. And this would be card AR PTR at index 1. So this is the array of cards. Now this is a little bit different because this is not a card. This is a card pointer to a single card. So this actually would be then value at card PTR. So I hope this helps you to understand dynamic memory allocation in C and using Malloc and calloc, and I encourage you to take a look at the code that's on Blackboard and put it in your compiler.